Let's talk about average returns. What is an average return? Well, have you ever looked into an investment, looking for quality, looking for something with a reasonable rate of return, and you were told that the average return over the last 10 years, for example, was 6.7, or this one, the average return over the last 7 years was 8.3, and you make your judgment based on what you're hearing, the average return, higher, lower, something in line with what you're looking for or what you expect. Let's do a little investigation on what an average return really is and whether it really exists, certainly in the way people think about it. Let's imagine you are a 22-year-old and you are going into your first job at a corporation. You sit down in the HR department, human resources department, and a rep in that department, a representative, hands you a clipboard and says, now, this clipboard has a number of tabs. I want you to sign wherever the tabs are. Oh, and by the way, we're going to sign you up for the 401k plan, unless you don't want to sign up. But the 401k plan is probably a good idea. We think it is. And the way it works is you'll be able to put money away pre-tax and save up, invest, it will grow. And then when you retire, well, when will you be retiring? Well, okay, let's use 65, age 65. It seems that many people use that. So how old are you? Oh, 22. So let's see, 65 rather to 22, that's 43 years. So you'll be able to save for 43 years. And well, you know, the stock market's returned an average of 7.3% over the last 10 years. And if we look forward, well, if we look forward at 7.3, well, we can use 6.3 to be conservative. Is that okay with you? Good, okay. So 43 years at 6.3 rate of return. And well, how much are you earning? Well, let's take a look at the clipboard. It says if you can put away $212.43 per paycheck, and we get paid twice a month, but if you put away $212.43 per paycheck for 43 years at a rate of growth of 6.3%, wait right there, you will have at age 65, you'll have $1.33 million. How does that sound? And of course it sounds good, right? But everything I just laid out in that example is fiction. Now I recognize fictional character, even though it might be you when you're 22, but a fictional character, the idea of 7.3, and you're telling me, well, the stock market didn't return an average of 7.3, it returned an average of 8.9 or 10.2, some number. And I'm telling you, all those numbers are fiction. The stock market average return is fiction. How can I say that? Well, it's real in that people keep expressing these figures and this phrase, the average return was, but the reality is different from what people think. Let's run through some examples of what I'm talking about, but the calculation really. When you were in 6th or 7th grade, you probably learned how to calculate an average. And the teacher said something like, well, on Monday, imagine you pick 10 bushels of corn. And on Tuesday, you pick 6 bushels of corn. And on Wednesday, you picked 5 more bushels of corn. So how many is that over 3 days? Let's see. 10 plus 6 plus 5, that's 16, that's 21 bushels. And an average over 3 days, 21 divided by 3 is 7 bushels of corn on average per day. That is accurate, and that is an average. But if we then take that concept and we work it into rate of return in the investment world, things change. Let's imagine that you have a series of years where in year 1, your investment went up 10%, year 2 up 6, year 3 up 5, year 4 down 7, year 5, 6, 7, you get different numbers all along. What you're supposed to do to calculate that average is you take these independent numbers, get the sum, some are positive, some are negative, so you get a sum, and then divide by the number of years. Am I making this up? I am not. Bear with me. I investigated this with artificial intelligence, and I investigated it with Investopedia on the web. Now, let's go with artificial intelligence first. It says, and I quote, the average return formula is the sum of all returns divided by the number of periods. To calculate this, simply add up all the individual returns for each period, and then divide that total by the number of periods you are analyzing, as we said, right? For example, if an investment had returns of 10%, 5%, and 15% over 3 years, so far in line with this, you would add them up to get 30% and then divide by 3 to find the average return is 10%. Bang on, right? Here is Investopedia. The average return is the simple mathematical average of a series of returns generated over a specified period of time. It measures investment performance by helping to determine historical performance. The average return is calculated like a simple average for any group of numbers. Okay. Add the numbers to get a total, then divide by the quantity of numbers in the set. As we said. Well, here's the problem. When I did bushels of corn, did it matter how many bushels I picked on Tuesday compared to Monday or Wednesday? No, they were independent numbers. Add them together, get a total, and divide. When I'm working with the investment world, now we're talking difference. I'll give you some examples first, and then we'll get into what happened. First example. Imagine you go to an investment advisor, tell him you have money to put to work, and he puts you into some investments. And after 1 year, you go back and say, how did I do? He says, you're up 10%. 10%. Think, that's good. A year later, after 2 years, you come back and ask the same question. How did I do? He says, you're down 10%. Now, up 10, down 10, net of 0. You'd think, well, at least I didn't lose money. Not great. My friends are making money, but at least I didn't lose money. Example number 2. After 1 year of investing, you ask the question, how did I do? So you're up 100%. You're thinking, this guy's great. I came through the right door. A year later, second year, how did I do? He says, you're down 50%, 50. Now, we're following the formula laid out by Investopedia, artificial intelligence, whatever, and I'm sure it jives with your 6th grade arithmetic as well. Up 100, down 50, that's a net of 50, divided by 2 for 2 years, 25% average return. Third example, money to work, after 1 year, how did I do? Up 60%. Year 2, down 50%. Up 60, down 50, net of 10, divided by 2 for 2 years is an average return of 5% per year. Now, let's take these 3 examples and throw in dollars, money, $100 to keep it simple. In the first example, up 10, down 10%, I take my $100. After 1 year, I have, having gone up 10%, 110. After 2 years, 1 additional year, my 110 goes down 10%, I have 99. 10% of 110 is 11. I subtract 11 from 110, I have 99. I'm not even. I did lose money. Example number 2, where I went up 100%, down 50%. My $100 goes up 100%, I have $200. My $200 then goes down 50%, I have $100, right? $200 down 50%, half of it, $100. Where's my 25% average return? Third example, my $100 goes up 60%, right? Up 60, down 50. Second year, I'm down 50%. So in the first year, up 60%, I have 160. My 160 goes down 50%, I have 80. Not a 5% average return, I've actually lost money. So why is it that this is different? And here's the answer. Because you're working with what I call pivot points. Simple concept. If I take $100 and I go up 100%, the question you should be asking an investment advisor if this happens, or at least thinking about this, is from where? My $100 goes up 100%. From where? From 100. My $200 now goes down 50%. From where? From $200, down 50%. If I put together a string of independent numbers and just get the sum, one number doesn't care about the next. There's no linkage. There's no pivot point. There's no from where to what. If I instead take these independent numbers, it pivots from 100. My $200 goes down to, and so on. And I join them. That is, my $100 goes up 100%. From here, to here, to here, to here, or vice versa. But the idea is they're all connected. So when you have a percentage change, which is what we are actually referring to in these numbers that are quoted about the market, about an investment, about the validity or value of an investment, What you're really looking for is, if I start here and it starts to do whatever it does over the course of time, everything is connected. It goes from here to here, to here, to here, to here, to there, to this over here. Everything is connected. Once you recognize that, when someone says the average return was, your question should then become, what was the actual return? Where did it start? And where is it now? And what was the key ingredient? What was the volatility in the meantime? Did it go up a lot and fall down a lot? Every time there is volatility, and here's the next key concept. Averages, when you get an average return, investment advisor says the average return over the last 10 years was 7.3%. Your thoughts immediately turn to, so if I can look forward at that, it's automatic. But what you're really thinking is straight line. It's called a straight line projection. It's either in this direction or that direction. But the idea is you're thinking the average becomes the norm, and it doesn't. Not on Wall Street. With Wall Street, everything is risk inherent, intrinsic. There's risk involved. The idea of saying this returned an average of 7.3% over the last 10 years requires that you ask, if you're really in on the joke, where, from where, to what? What was the volatility? How many ups, how many downs? Is this a recovery? Because when you look forward, I'm repeating myself a little bit here to make a point. When you look forward from this point on with this possible investment, you have to be thinking, what if the market collapses? What if the market goes up to the moon? But what if? Because when you have an average with bushels of corn, we don't care about volatility. There's no concern there. When we have an investment that will have volatility, it'll go up and down all over the place. When that happens, you don't know where it will end up. You don't know where the negatives will be. You don't know where the positives will be. You don't know, if there is a negative, how long a recovery will take. Remember that part about when $100 goes up 60% and then down 50%? There's a recovery to get back to where you should be. That's a recovery, to recover. And if you don't know how long a recovery will take, or if it will occur at all, but how long and what it will take to get back to where you should be, looking at, in your mind, this straight line growth pattern, if you don't have a sense of what that will be, what's the purpose of the straight line projection? And the answer is, it has none. It's a selling point. If you're selling mutual funds, if you're selling stock investments, if you're an advisor, it's a way to sell the product, because people get excited about, really? An average return of 7.3? But it doesn't exist. It does not exist. So the idea of going in there without the question, what was the actual return? Tell me exactly what that performance looked like over the course of the last, pick a number of years, 10 years, 5 years, 8 years. But all of this is important when you're talking about investments. So here's where it comes into play. Going back to that little story about HR and the new employee and signing up for the 401k. You've probably been subject to some advisor at some level, somewhere saying, yeah, 7.3 average return or some number. And looking forward, we can use that number, or we can be conservative, back it off a little bit, and then you will have X amount at this age. That is where you set yourself up for a fall. What do I mean? What I mean is, simply put, if you're expecting that you'll have 1.33 million at the age of 65 because your advisor told you when you were 22 that's what's going to happen, when you're 50 or 55 or 60, you're going to be looking at your portfolio and you're going to be thinking, I did everything right. I was supposed to have some figure by this point, 1.33 by 65. It doesn't look like I'm going to get there. What happened? And the answer is, you were using an illusion. You were using numbers that don't make sense. And all of Wall Street uses it, whether they, some cases, understand it and just turn away, or maybe they're not on the sales side. Maybe they're on the investment side and they understand this. But the idea is, it's hard to explain to someone exactly what I've just told you. And it's hard to get it across to people because they're so used to the sixth grade arithmetic of the average is, and this is how you calculate it. But when you have volatility and when you set up your expectations based on something that is intrinsically volatile without thinking about it that way, you have a problem in the future. If you understand, if you're interested in more, if you'd like to get involved with a few more of these explanations, send us a question.